The 49ers at 4, I think they should be a little bit higher based off their ceiling, but based off how this offseason has been going, a lot of things feel kind of off with the Niners with CMC's injury.
Vibes are definitely down.
Trent Williams hasn't reported yet. Brandon Ayuk is close to getting that contract extension, but we'll see once he finally gets it. There's a lot of things going on with the 49ers that are making me kind of feel a little bit skeptical on them. But if they're healthy, this is one of the best teams in the NFC, just with the defensive talent they have, what they have on offense. But not having Trent Williams there, it could really derail.
Comments are
season.
saying Jets Glaze podcast. Respect that. Man.
When it comes to power rankings, especially when it comes to these top 4, top 5 teams, every instance matters.
Where did you have Green Bay ranked?
In my top 10 list?
Yeah.
Maybe like 7 or 8.
And
we had them 9 collectively.
And you had the Eagles at 7 or 8?
Yeah, they were probably just one spot within each other. I think I might have put the Packers.
That's why just don't be so hard-headed on saying that they're not Super Bowl contenders when you have the Packers.
Do you want to bet on the win total?
You want to bet that the Packers will win more games than the Eagles?
No, I want to bet that the Eagles will win more bet.
I actually want to just do the Packers-Eagles bet straight up. If you're not confident.
That's exactly that's the bet.
That's what I said. Yeah,
that's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, who wins more games?
Yes. Okay, let's do
I got the Packers.
All right, 3 bets this fucking podcast. All right, cue it. Episode 400,
I'm excited
3
for
bets.
And they play week 1. Oh, my God, I can't wait to start.
Like I was saying, in an off season, when you have these top 5 teams, every news report, every transaction matters immensely. And the San Francisco 49ers right now, no Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, although in the later stages of apparently a contract extension, CMC also banged up. This hasn't been the kindest offseason to the San Francisco 49ers. On paper, they still do have one of the best rosters if Trent comes back. If, of course, Brandon Ayuk is there. If CMC is 100% healthy. No doubt. This is probably the second best team in the league. But with all the uncertainty right now with the Niners, right now, at least where we stand, that's kind of why I had them a little bit lower. I did have them at 4. So to me, this ranking was perfect.
Oh.
But when everything's sound, no doubt this is a top 2 team. But again, with the uncertainty right now that has been in the air with the San Francisco 49ers, that's the only reason I knocked them down a little bit. I still think that they're Super Bowl contenders. I still believe that at the absolute minimum, they are the second best team in the NFC. If all goes well, they can be the first team in the NFC. But the other team that we're going to talk about, who is the number 3 spot, I believe you already revealed it in the Detroit Lions. To me, that's fair. I look at Detroit. They have almost everything. Almost everything that you can ask for in a team, except maybe secondary. But probably you still can hope that you solidify it a little bit, especially with putting pieces in the draft that you use to solidify the cornerback spot. You traded for Carlton Davis as well. I still trust that the 49ers are going to be great, but again, with how this offseason has gone to plan, it's okay to have these other 3 teams in front of them.
I seen this report.
I actually think the Niners were 3. Excuse me. I had the Ravens at 4.
It made a good point. It was like CD, Ayuk, Jamar. They've missed a significant amount of time just about like getting reps and being
training
in training
camp.
Yeah, and it could hurt them come like week 1 or 2. They could have them lingering injuries. And I didn't even realize that. Like when he said it, I was like, oh shit, wow. Like Ayuk really he's been at practice, but he hasn't really been at practice. Same thing with CD. He has not been at practice, and that definitely could hinder them. But yeah, the Niners, as long as everybody's there, they're the second best team on this whole shebang. Like they're the second best team. They're the best team in the NFC. Second best team in the league to me. They got Kittle, Brock, Trent, Ayuk. Like they just got the bomb squad. They lack in depth, but what they lack in depth, they have in star power in almost damn near every position on the roster. So as long as I don't really feel like they should have been knocked because they're still. All of them are technically on the roster, so they're still the best team in the NFC. But, yeah, like you mentioned, they're at worst too, but probably still the best in the NFC.
Just want to clear it up. My top 5, I have the Chiefs, the Lions, the Jets, the Niners, and the Ravens.
What's working against the Niners this year is that they have minus 32 days total negative rest edge, which is the most in the NFL. What that means is that
What?
This would
I respect you for bringing up fucking random stats.
It's not
a good stat. Good stat.
It's
not random.
And the reason why it matters
pretty random,
is
but
because
it does matter.
The most important thing in the NFL is having a rest advantage, having a day or 2 where you can rest your body more than the opposing team. And no team is affected more by rest than the Niners this year. This year they play 7 games against teams with more rest, 3 games with a short week and they're also on the road. And week 7 on, they face the fourth most difficult schedule of opponents. And they have a rest disadvantage in 6 of those 11 games after week 7 against KC, Dallas, Seattle, Buffalo, Chicago, Arizona. 5 of these teams are coming off their bye week. So you're giving 5 of these coaches an extra week to prepare against them. And what also hurts the Niners when it comes to rest is the fact that this is an injury-prone team. Last year, they were the 4th healthiest team in the NFL. But if you look at every single year that the Niners have been coached by Kyle Shanahan, they have been one of the most injured teams in the NFL. So last year was more so an anomaly of health from them. So not only are they coming into the season so far in training camp with key players hurt, but also they're going to have a disadvantage with their rest throughout the season, and that could lead to even more injuries. And I think that's something that can derail the Niners season and maybe lower the expectation for their ceiling a little bit more. I agree with the Lions being higher. I can't agree with the Ravens being lower, though, because the Lions, they made some splash moves. They got DJ Reader. They were already an elite run defense. And the Lions are a weird team because they blitzed a lot on third down, and if they didn't blitz, they would have been a really great pass defense. The number one problem with the Lions was their pass defense. They were abysmal. That's why teams passed on them all the time. When you look at the splits when they pressured versus when they didn't, opponents passed at the 6th highest rate against the Lions. Their pass defense ranked 30th. 74% of all yards gained against them were with passing yards, the first in the NFL. And then I'm trying to look at this. Their 4-man rush, they were 9th in EPA when they just had a 4-man rush, and they were 7th in third down conversion rate allowed as a defense with just sending a 4-man rush. When they sent a 5-man rush, when they blitzed, that dropped to 32nd in EPA per play and 24th in third down conversion rate. If the Lions simply rushed 4 and dropped back 7, their pass defense would have been a top 10 unit in the league because they blitzed on those downs. And part of the blitzing was because they had a top 5 pressure rate, but they were one of the worst teams at getting home and getting sacks. That's probably why they did it. But if they just allow their front 4 to get after it and they got better with DJ Reader, this pass defense, there's a lot of room for growth. And that's why I think it's easily a top 3 team. Like between the Lions and the 49ers, given the Lions had a massive lead against them in the NFC Championship game, and I thought they got better at a lot of different positions in their roster, I think they are a better team coming into this year.
I think it's a coin flip between those two teams. I think offensive line is probably the biggest gap between these two teams. The offensive line of Detroit Lions is probably the best in football right now. Penei Sewell did go down with an injury in training camp.
Did see that.
Don't know how serious it is, but of course he's one of the best tackles in the game right now. So if they missed him for any amount of time, that would be a big impact. But I do think these two teams are really close. These are the 2 best teams, in my opinion, in the NFC. Packers and Eagles, not too far behind, but I do think they are behind these teams. When we just look at track record over the past couple of seasons, Detroit has just gotten progressively better and better under Dan Campbell, finally breaking through, winning a playoff game, nearly, as you mentioned, beating the San Francisco 49ers. But San Francisco has just showed year in and year out, as long as the quarterback is healthy, as long as he is upright, Kyle Shanahan is going to get this team to the NFC Championship really at a minimum. And I do agree that last season was a bit of an anomaly health-wise because they've had a lot of guys, whether it's been Debo, George Kittle, Nick Bosa.
Debo missed time.
True. They've always had someone, one of their core guys injured. But I also look at previous years and feel like it's an anomaly on the other side where it just feels like everybody gets hurt all at the same time. So I do think it's somewhere in the middle. But as long as this team is healthy, man, as long as Brock Purdy is in there upright, it's going to be one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL. Kyle Shanahan, as we know, one of the best offensive play callers. Just really waiting for him to win that big game. And defensively, I think there's some holes you can pick on from this Niners team. They were top 10 in EPA last year from a defensive perspective, although there is some pieces I think that the Lions have improved on this past season, bringing in DJ Reed, bringing in Carlton Davis, as you guys mentioned. I just trust San Francisco going into next season based on the track record they've had. Of course, Detroit is kind of starting to build that track record, so we could go into the end of next season and, look at Detroit as one of those teams. And of course, we have these guys, in the top 5, so we think they're a Super Bowl type contender. But for me, it's just more so, all right, Detroit, you're kind of over that step. The handcuffs are off. We're all looking at you as one of the best teams in the NFL. Now you have that expectation for San Francisco. You've had these expectations. You've basically met them almost every single time as long as your quarterback's been healthy. Just about getting over that hump, getting that Super Bowl.